Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Um, what to talk about? How about anti-corruption? The war against corruption. It's always been in the backdrop, but of recent, there have been many more corruption stories. There's the war, not so much the war. There's the case of Maina and his son, and houses seized. There's the case of Saraki, his houses, two houses being seized. Even though former Senate President and former Governor of Kwara has actually spoken and said he's sure the court was misled. But these things are in the air. And I guess there's no way you think of corruption, you think of the agency specifically created to work in that area. In this case, it's the EFCC, among others, but particularly the EFCC. There's a whole conversation going on. Look, it's coming up to 4 years of the acting chairman's tenure, and doesn't he deserve confirmation? Well, that no doubt is an effort from the EFCC PR department, and indeed, it is legit. It's their work to do. But we're looking at the war generally, and there are many aspects to the war, EFCC just being one of them. How has it been going so far? Has there been a difference? Is that really is it? Because there will be the judicial aspects to it, there will be the prosecution aspects, there will be even the defense aspects. How many of people that were charged are set free by due process, or discharged by due process? All of those things are going on. So against that whole background, I want to look at how has this war against corruption been going. Remember back in the day, as the president was coming into his first term, he had said that this will be a major plank of the ruling APC and his administration. And I don't think he's changed his stance since then. We have to discuss this with us, Ahmed Dada Abbas. He's a political affairs analyst, but I'm delighted that he's a lawyer, because when you talk this matter, you're going to have to talk some law as well. Thank you very much, as always, for coming on, Ahmed.
Thank you, sir.
Indeed. And Libros Oshoma. Mr. Shoma is a public affairs analyst. Again, delightfully, he's a lawyer as well. So whatever he's saying is going to be putting it in the context of fairness and the law and his personal opinion as to how things are going. As always, Libros, thanks a million for coming.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.
Now, I saw a very, very interesting article on the front page of The Nation this week, and it had a very detailed list of successes of the EFCC so far, and this was denoted in pound sterling, in dollars, in naira, maybe even Swiss francs. But all of these is, no doubt part of the conversation that I was telling you about that probably is being generated from the PR department. But without prejudice to that fact, it's our right to know. Would you take that kind of a publication, which clearly must have been made available by EFCC, would you take it as something of a barometer of how well we're doing? How would you look at that?
No, to a very large extent I will. Because right from inception, look at the FCC right from inception, the only time that you could actually measure, successes in EFCC was you could compare. If you have to discuss EFCC today, you'll be talking about Ribadu's tenure and Magu's tenure. Mm-hmm. The one Farida and Lamode, they just marked time and passed. And so that's why you can't rule out, all of those achievements, irrespective of the fact that they might be coming from, some form of PRO,
Well, yeah.
But if there are
sometimes
achievements,
there are facts.
if there are achievements you cannot close your eyes to. But
Okay.
that also does not mean that there are no cases where EFCC, like I said before the program, just tick the box. There are some smaller cases where you feel like this EFCC shouldn't be doing this with the height they have attained. Mm-hmm. But we are all human beings, and so once in a while you see them do things like that. But as for such, achievements, there's more to be done, but you can only compare them with the days of Ribadu now.
Okay. Ahmed, what he just said, that he felt that without prejudice to the successes that have been achieved, that there might be instances where perhaps the anti-corruption organization appears to be going along the lines of just being able to tick some boxes so as to get it's like providing your CV, that kind of a thing. You try to throw in as many things as possible. What do you think of that particular viewpoint?
You see, I'm going to be looking at the issue of, the fight against corruption by EFCC from a different angle, because I will be looking at it from the point of view of being a historian. And the challenge I'm having, I'm bothered, really bothered, because if you look at the first coup by Chukwuma Nziogo, if you look at it, they raised the issue of corruption. Shehu Shagari was toppled because there was corruption. Muhammadu Buhari came 1984. He spoke about corruption. He came in 2015, spoke about corruption. It means for almost about 50 years of our life, the subject of corruption has retarded our progress. It's in the front burner. It's an everyday conversation. For me, the question we should be asking ourselves is this. When your house is flooded with water in the morning, you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is not to bail out the water. You need to find out
where
the water
source
so
is.
If all our life we keep fighting corruption, we should ask ourselves, why is the system so porous that people could cut our resources for over 50-something years and we have not had an answer to the problem? So I'm not really bothered about, for me,
which also sort of relates to the premise of how well are we actually doing in denting the problem? Over this 50-year period, you said that we've been having this conversation.
Yes.
So that, I think, perhaps you might agree, Libros.
Yes, I completely agree that corruption, the issue of corruption being a national issue. Yes,
really. When you say national, it's become ingrained
it's
in
like
our mentality.
It's like a way of life for us now. That's why I am on TV and somebody is praying that I'll be given an appointment. Not because they feel, oh, this man, go and do well. Even though some feel you can do better. But some feel, oh, look, you need to get there also so that we can have our own benefit. And that's why the day Yori Folari is appointed minister, people that have not seen you for 50 years will take out paid advert to celebrate you. Not because of, oh, look, go and perform and make it better.
So
but
that's
because
not just
they
goodwill. It's not just
goodwill.
goodwill.
No, it's not just goodwill.
For somebody I knew.
That some
you
people call you that
no.
it's our turn to eat now. So that's why we will fight to say, oh, it's our turn to rule. It's the turn of this region to become governor or president. It's not because of the benefit. Obasanjo was president of Nigeria for 8 years. And the road to Ota was what it was. Jonathan was president in Nigeria for 6 years. And you get to Utuoke, there was no difference. But people benefited. So I agree with him. And so that's why also, if you look at the EFCC, for me, I see EFCC as a drop in the ocean. But in considering that drop in the ocean, how far have they gone in that space they are operating?
Because well, the thing that you're saying here, and Ahmed, if you will, I'd like you to pick this up, is that I can just imply from everything Libros has just said in the past few minutes that it's an almost impossible war to fight. We can't throw our hands up in despair, but from explaining that it unfortunately has the appearance of being part of our DNA these days. Would you agree that that therefore makes the war against corruption, never mind EFCC, anybody for that matter, tremendously difficult?
You see, one single institution, whether you call it EFCC, whether you call it the police, they can't win the war on corruption. You know the reason why? Because the system is constructed in such a way that I'll give you a practice.
You'll be reacting.
Look,
you'll be just be reacting to
there is no direction you face in the entity called Nigeria today. If you interface with any governmental institution, that you will not be compelled and twisted, regardless of your value system. Compelled. When I say compelled, you are a lawyer. Go to the judiciary there. You file a matter. After they've assessed and you have paid the official fee, you are aware that your case is...
And why are you fighting your brother now?
No.
Why are you fighting your legal brother now?
We are here to educate.
Yes.
You will, look, your case is dead on arrival if you do not tip the court officials to move your file.
This is part of the ingraining that you're talking about. That doesn't even get to the public service yet.
See, sometimes when I look at, people saying, this is doing this church is this is ethnicity, this Fulani, and all the rest of them, for God's sake, there's a national calamity. It's a disaster. Look, you go to your civil service, Alausa here. You are closer here. Just go. No.
You're coming very close to home.
Yes, you go there. Look, an average Nigerian walks into a passport office.
Okay.
Ask the president of Nigeria or the vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, to tell us how much is our official passport.
64 pages, 70-something thousand.
Yes.
But you cannot spend 70-something thousand to achieve it.
That is the point that Abbas is making.
Look,
you must spend more than that.
Look, for a passport probably that officially is about 25,000 naira, go to any immigration office, about 40,000, 45,000 naira. Will this your leader say they don't know what Nigerians are going through?
Or that they never heard that? That this fact that you just mentioned has never been heard.
It is so bad that in Harvard they call it, if you're doing business in Nigeria, you must set aside a budget for facilitation.
Sir, you say you close your border, and they are telling us that 90% of the goods that come into Nigeria are smuggled and not the rest of them. Your custom officers are in tandem, hand in hand with some of these smugglers. Why are we trying to I can't just stomach the fact that we are trying to be a diplomat. Sir, most of your civil servants, you talked about me now, seizing houses and all the rest of them. Look, the civil service,
recently,
all over the years, it's an industry of corruption. Except we want to deceive ourselves, with few exceptions of very honorable men. You can you apply for any contract in any governmental agency with all your qualifications?
Even job.
Are you getting my point?
Application for a job.
Look, if you bid for any contract today in any Nigerian ministry, regardless of how competent you are, you'll be sure that you won't get it.
It happened to a client of mine in MPA. I will call names.
You know the man that bought Gatwick Airport?
That Nigerian.
He said they can't come. These are brilliant, globally acceptable multi-billionaires who are doing ethical business, but he said they can't come to Nigeria because he knows.
This is
so
part
for
of it.
me, that's why I talk about solutions.
Sir, let me just add one thing.
Okay.
The police structure as it is today, petition writing is a multi-billion naira business. Are you aware? From the office of the IG down to the AIG and the DIGs. This country needs sanitization.
Okay. Now, all that I have heard about Ahmed say is pointing to another curiosity, if I can use that word, which is that all of us know a lot more than we choose to speak about.
Yes.
And in fact, Ahmed this morning, he's angry and he's saying a lot more than is usually said about this matter, saying, we know, everybody knows, but we shall use the structures here because we got to work through all sorts of structures.
Yes, that's true.
There's prosecution, there are rules, there are regulations. There's a lot of area. There's a lot of fuzz. There's a lot of fuzz. We can possibly introduce a lot of fuzz, and that is what Abbas is saying, and that also points to what you guys started off by saying that, look, we have a problem here. It's become so ingrained in us. We don't know what the difference between
the question, the issue really is first and foremost, like he said, where are the loopholes? How much of these loopholes can we block?
Do we want to block?
Yes.
Do we want to block?
Can we, and then do we? Do we have the we power too? And there should be no sacred cows. And so not that I block this and then I open this other side for my brother or my sister or my friend. Because that's also another form of nepotism, is another form of corruption.
Of course.
And so when you do that, I have always said that EFCC, like I said, is a drop in the ocean.
It's one.
The police also, we can't concentrate on the EFCC and then relegate the police to what it is today and then we pretend to fight corruption. It's not possible. You can't create agencies and say, okay, this one will strictly be responsible, because if it has become our everyday lives, the only way you can also, deter a lot of people is to ensure that the instrumentality of the law, immediately this act are committed, the instrumentality of the law is activated to check. And that is why if you commit, no matter how minor, like a traffic offense in these other Western societies, immediately
the system kicks in.
The system kicks in. No, I beg, sir, no day. or you bypass a NEPA wire and all of that. But here, all of this, we say, well, we have bigger problems. So this one's,
Yeah.
but we forget that these smaller problems are the ones that eventually graduate to the bigger ones.
Look, we're talking about flooding in Lagos here. There's a way in which you can see that corruption also factors in. Sometimes you're not doing the right thing. You would think a building inspector will come along and stop work. It's not going to happen. One or two well-placed phone calls and continue.
Yes, and so when that happens, once that happens, you have created a future problem. And when it eventually becomes a problem, rather than address it, that, oh, look, we had a master plan that we didn't work with, and so we need to do something. And then they are quick to tell you there is, it is happening in Japan. It is not only in Nigeria. It's happening in Korea. Oh, look at Malaysia. It happened. There was flooding also. For me, there are the solutions. You can't address all of these in 4 years, even in 8 years. But we need to start to begin to address them.
So there are different...
And that's why I said that the EFCC, I will always go there, the EFCC, given the space, the limits within which they have operated, to a very large extent, under this administration, you would say they have, done well. I will score them, but there is a lot of work to do.
But this is within the concept, this is within the construct that you made of EFCC is still, after all said and done, a drop.
Yes, and so that's why I'm now saying that what we can now do, if we say, yes, the EFCC has achieved this mileage, what are the other agencies that you can also activate or you can empower to ensure that they do the same work and achieve the same result that the EFCC is achieving? We also need to look at the judiciary, the court system. We need to look at the policing. We need to look at all these paramilitary agencies also. Have we, in all honesty, empowered them the way we are empowering the EFCC to work independently?
Okay, let me bring that to Ahmed. It's like if it was a building, the structural integrity that has been given EFCC, he's asking the question, have you now given that same or forced that same structural, stability on
the police?
The police, for instance, the whole judiciary,
the customs,
on all of these places.
Even civil defense.
Right now, people are complaining. Auto car salesmen and marketers are complaining that customs is raiding their showrooms and closing them down.
And then you now ask, how did these vehicles pass custom checks before?
Well, so let me give it to that.
You see, that's why I said, you see, in Nigeria we like
showmanship.
Yes, we like showmanship. We like setting up conferences to find how to fight corruption and all the rest of them. If you are serious, there is no problem bedeviling this country today that we do not have competent men of goodwill, men of good conscience that will give you practical, globally acceptable standard, homegrown, well thought out plan on how to solve any problem. There is absolutely no problem.
I know where all of this is going. All of this is going to the question of having the political will to do the necessary.
And ensuring. You see, what we should do in this country is those institutions, the government needs to focus on them and ensure that people that have passion for those jobs are given the opportunity to run out their time, seek their opinion. When they are transiting or probably leaving, seek their opinion as to who among your subordinates has imbibed the culture and the objective of this institution so that there will be continuity. You see, this spasmodic approach of trying to solve problems, institutions are the various arms of government. In fact, the government has just two arms, like I used to tell people. One is the welfare arm and one is the violent arm of government. There are some institutions, they are meant to go after criminals. They are meant to go after evildoers in the society. Those institutions, you need to allow, look at what happened to Nuhu Ribadu, for example. They almost assassinated the man because he was stepping on toes. They took him out and brought somebody that was pliable, somebody that can be used. What this government should be doing, go look for people that are passionate about an area of our life that is a problem. Give them the opportunity to run those institutions, run out their term. If it is 2 terms, give them their 2 terms. And when he's going, one way or the other, such a passionate man will know a subordinate that is passionate about the culture of the organization. make such a person to inherit that organ. And after some time, when the that culture, ethical practice has become part and parcel of that institution, it will be very difficult for anybody to come to want to subvert the culture.
Yeah.
The institution will fight, react, and throw up such a man. Now, let me tell you, look at the police force, for example. X-ray them. If an average police officer, some of them buy their uniform.
Not some. They all buy uniform.
They buy their shoes from
different
different
forms.
They buy statement form. When they retire, sometimes the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
I can tell you, the average Nigerian police station.
None of this is actually aiding the seriousness of the war against corruption. All these things that you're pointing-
15,000 naira is the interest for a police station, managing a police station a month.
Where people
but they hardly get it.
But where over 100 complaints will come, and you expect them,
and
expect
1,000
them
naira to
perform.
patrol vehicles.
Do you understand? Look.
One moment, sir.
Okay.
Please, just try and hold your thoughts so I can come back to you.
Right.
I think Ola in the UK, good morning.
Fola.
Fola in the UK.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah. I like your program this morning. So I want to contribute to your program this morning.
Sure, go ahead, please.
Yeah, regarding the corruption you are talking about, I'm an importer. I import cars from US, right? So when we give money to our agents to clear the vehicle for us, we pay them. For example, we pay like 1.7 million for a car. What you see on the paper is 1.1 million. 600,000 is nowhere to be found. The same custom will come to your office and come and load the same car down, that the duty is too low. That is the problem we are having now presently at the Keja everywhere.
Well,
So I wanted to invite the PRO of custom to this program so that we can ask him questions. So they will say, we don't pay duty, but nobody listens to car dealers anywhere
okay.
to see their own parts.
Thank you very much for calling in, Fola, in the UK. Okay. This is another aspect of, quite frankly, defects in the structure.
You see, quickly, I had, a colleague.
No, but I had promised that I interrupted.
No, let him I'll come back.
I had a colleague who said once you are posted to the ports as a custom officer, that you come home every day with cash, huge cash. Because every clearing, there is, like I told you, there's a facilitation. That's the 600,000 that Fola was talking about, a situation where, and then this money is in public. And that's why people will lobby to be posted to these places. And at the end of the day, we talked about grandstanding, showmanship. The 1.7 million that is supposed to go to government, the custom will take receipt 1.1 million and then keep 600,000. The day the custom boss...
Allegedly.
No, he just said it.
Okay,
allegedly.
Allegedly. Fola said...
We have a way of avoiding these things. Yeah. And then the day the custom boss is to discuss revenue for custom and auditing, the officers in these places, nobody will touch them, nobody will prosecute them. Rather, the man who was compelled, like Ahmed has said, who was compelled and twisted, blackmailed to cough out 1.7 million but received 1.6, you still go back to his shop and impound the car and say the duty is too low. Or in some cases, they harass you on the way. So, that's why it is not just about looking for a head of an organization. We also need, you work in a private organization. Quarterly, you do a review, assessment of the job so far. But in public service, how much of this do we do apart from promotion exams?
Okay, one moment, please. Martins, Mr. Martins in Enugu, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning, sir. Please go on.
How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you.
I've been trying to call this number, but unfortunately today is my first time getting.
Today is your day. We're delighted to have you.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate this program today because you have called the right people that can hit the nail at the top. These are the people who are supposed to be at the top, the SA and the management of the government of Nigeria today. Because if you see what is happening in Nigeria today, the Nigerian police is the worst officer you can ever live with. The next office is NEPA. electrical power electronics, they are dangerous. So you people look at this now. Look at the way they are breaking it, and nobody can say anything about them. They are the most corrupt people in the world. I'm sorry to use this word on them, but they are most dangerous.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Martins. Well, I guess you're saying in your particular kind of way what has also been said in the studio, that, look, it's becoming ingrained in us.
It's everywhere.
It's becoming, with words like endemic, we've since come to learn what those ones mean, because it seems to be part of the system. He was pointing out that in Harvard, they say you have to have a
facilitation
budget, for goodness sake. I don't know where that is done, but there you go. So,
because the issue of corruption, like I said, is that people are, it is destroying the totality of our creativity, our resourcefulness. Because, like I said, everywhere you turn to, except we want to deceive ourselves. I'm a lawyer. Yes, I'm a lawyer. I interface with many governmental institutions and all the rest of them. You just discover that there is nowhere you go. Sometimes jokingly I tell people, I say, look, these general overseers should actually come into the center and be businessmen. Let them interface with institutions and know what their members are actually following. Even there is nothing you import in this country. I'm just grateful that the man is speaking on behalf of the custom. We shouldn't deceive ourselves. The custom is a cesspool of corruption. Even sometimes when all your papers are correct, you can be rest assured you can't go scot-free.
Yeah. Those kind of allegations are frequently made.
This is a media house.
You
can do your investigation.
Sure.
You'll discover that no matter.
And that's why.
Recently,
someone talked about the prisons.
This is where
also.
you see EFCC's
the correctional
battle against
centers.
corruption in context.
Yes.
Of the much larger
that's
problem.
why I said that for the EFCC is a drop in the ocean.
Okay, 1 second, please. I'll come back to you if you want to develop that point. Mr. I was going to say Mr. Oseni in Jos. Okay, we lost Mr. Oseni in Jos. Oh, so sorry about that. See if you can get back in.
And so that's why I said EFCC is a drop in the ocean. The job at hand, the job is massive.
Well,
and so you can't employ few laborers. And people talk about attitudinal change or reorientation.
That was where I was going to go.
And so a situation where the Ministry of Information, the National Orientation Agency, for example, will say, we do not even have budget to run. And yet you want to change a mindset. Because when we talk about change, really, you say, change begins with me. It shouldn't just be a slogan. There also should be activities. And then there should be sanctions that would follow in the event that these are...
we know all these things. In fact, you guys are lawyers. You guys, your whole life and your whole study was based on action consequence. It's written down in black and white. It's written down in black and white.
That's the head and tail of this discussion.
But here,
there are actions, there are multiple actions, there are no consequences. And that's why here we say our laws are observed in breach more.
Yes.
And so when the law, what happens is, like Fidel Castro once said, in a state of lawlessness, it becomes illegal to be law-abiding.
1 moment, please. Let me bring in Mr. Jonathan in Lekki. Good morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Mr. Yori, you are doing a fantastic job.
Oh, you're too kind. Thank you very much.
And your two gentlemen with you there.
They're doing a more fantastic job.
It is very, very unfortunate that we are in a country where nothing works.
Well, it's just because you're angry. You're saying that because you're angry. Some things actually work, but I understand what you mean.
Let me explain to you. The gentleman just said that even if you have your papers correct, with the police, Nigeria police, for example, you have the papers correct, they will find something that will use in implicating you. Yeah, in other countries, like in UK, for example, if a policeman stops you, they don't even need to check your papers. What they do, they give you a producer.
Mm-hmm.
You choose the police station you want to go to produce those papers that you have. Because they know that they have to remit money back to their office. Therefore, you have to pay just because you do not have one paper. And this money, does it go back to the government? The idea is that if you commit any crime, you are driving without a driving license, there's a particular fine. So they should refer you back to the police station where that fine should be paid.
Sure.
That doesn't happen in this country. Everything is about money. Is it the custom we're talking about? All the borders that is being closed. Who help people to come in? Where are these rights coming from? It's through the custom. We cannot operate a country like this. You talk about EFCC.
Okay.
How many people were arrested, even officials of EFCC? They've been arrested. 6 of them are read online.
All right, then.
6 of them have been arrested.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want to thank you very much for your contribution. It has enriched the program, and because I've got to go on a break right now. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. We'll continue with your calls and, of course, in-studio conversation. Welcome back, folks, and Ahmed Dada Abbas and Libros Oshoma, we're having this conversation on the war against corruption, how far. So far, so good. And I think in the first half of the program, we sort of established that, look, let's just get our bearings right. The scope of corruption and the organs specially, created to combat it, EFCC, how much it can actually realistically do. So, gentlemen, I think there's a sense in which, going from what you said, maybe we the people have to adjust our expectations of what EFCC can realistically achieve, because I fear that there might be some who think that the job of EFCC, or what EFCC is aiming at, is to stamp out corruption in Nigeria, and that if it does its job well, then we will almost not have corruption in Nigeria anymore.
No, it's not possible.
That's
we
not
need
true,
to.
is it?
No, it's not true.
But can I now ask something else? Because of that, sorry, sir, to interrupt you. Can I ask, are we now therefore saying that this is an impossible situation?
No, it's not impossible also. Okay. It's not impossible. It's not possible that they will stamp out corruption, but it's also not an impossible situation. Because if you look at the overwhelming support that the president got in 2015, it was because people realized the fact that, look, corruption is a hindrance to our success, our collective success. Sure. And so we need somebody who has the willpower, somebody who has the capacity, and who is ready to, address it frontally. And so to that extent, you saw the support. Even some people said, look, even if it's tissue paper that he has, we're ready to vote for him. But he came, he started foot dragging. And then it was like, if you remember, it was, the president's body language. Yes, the body language activated a lot of, but we now expected, to see actual activities. ICPC suddenly woke up. EFCC did more, like I said at the beginning. But we now needed, appreciating the fact that it's an enormous problem, we now needed to not just plug a few loopholes, but to also expand the institution and give them the base and the framework. The police, what did we do with it? We didn't do anything with the police. We just left it the way it was. And you cannot fight corruption in a system like Nigeria with the same Nigerian police, the same finances, the same structure as it is. There was something that needed to be done. We didn't do that. Yes, you brought Ahmed Ali and said, yes, we need to reform and restructure the custom. But at the end of the day, the target was about revenue driven, and not the practice, and not to say, okay, look, we need to plug.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you, Libros. Ahmed, I saw that you were nodding approvingly at some things that, your Leonard brother was saying. And one of those was in the area of, look, the president arrived on that whole platform of integrity. Everybody knows him. He doesn't look like a material guy. He looks like he's not going to stand for nonsense and all of that. But then, as Libros said, he started foot dragging. At that place, you nodded your head. What would be your expression?
Look, for those...
Because we heard when we questioned, say, what's going on, Mr. President? He said, well, look, I'm not a military dictator anymore. I'm a president now, voted for, must be a student and apostle of all the democratic institutions.
You see,
I can't just put people in jail. And the president did mention, remember, that, look, when I was a military guy and I did that kind of a thing, what happened? The next military administration came and released them. And these people are walking around in society today.
There were two different scenarios. And like I used to situate, explanation within the context of analogy. I said, see, the body language of a doctor attending to somebody that is terminally ill will elicit two types of prayer. If the doctor is moving with dexterity, moving with so much passion, mobilizing, organizing, and the person is only barely to see their effort, the prayer the man will be praying, God, keep me alive because my doctors are doing their best to keep me alive.
Okay.
But when the doctor is lackadaisical and so lukewarm and all the rest of them, the prayer that the man on the sick bed in pain will be praying to God is, God, open the door and let me just escape this pain. The pain is becoming too... The exodus of Nigerians in their millions, in their drove, is an indication that people are becoming a little bit tired of the system because, look,
let me see if Tony is like that. Tony is in the UK. And you're talking about Nigerians, making a beeline. Yes. I'm tired, I'm going. Good morning, Tony. I thought Tony was on the line. Hello. Good morning.
I'm here. Good morning.
Tony, go right ahead, please.
All right. I'd like to contribute to the corruption sector and like what Mr. Ahmed said.
Okay.
Mr. Ahmed said something that there are people in the sector that they need to bring in, that the government needs to bring in some people. Who are the people in the government? It's not the same set of people. Now, what I feel is that the judicial sector of Nigeria needs to stand firm. They need to be the ones to do the checks and balances. In a lot of situations where there are no checks and balances, these are where lapses are. I'm so happy you have two men that are into law and how that they know the system. They should be the ones to check the balances. When there is no law, everybody does what they like at any point in time. That's all I have today.
Well, thank you very much for calling in, Tony. Indeed, we know all of this, including what you just said, Tony. But I think the two gentlemen, yes, thank you for saying that. We're happy that they're lawyers. But they're also saying, looking beyond the law, corruption is a challenge that, and hardly anything can work well within this globe, this corruption globe that we find ourselves in.
See, man has always been the decisive factor in anything you want to do. Man, the resources might be there, but it takes a competent man, takes a passionate man to creatively mix the factors together and get the desired result. NAFDAC existed before Akunyili came into existence. Mm-hmm. After Akunyili, what have you heard about NAFDAC as of today? After Akunyili, sir, NAFDAC was even consulting for foreign countries on counterfeiting. The award that NAFDAC got as an institution during her tenure, they were uncountable because a woman that was passionate about her assignment, they almost assassinated her. But she knew, she had a clear-cut vision.
She was passionate.
She had a clear-cut vision of what required to be done.
And we don't always do that with our institutions, is what you're saying?
Yes.
And that's the beginning of a lot of the problems. Let me bring in Anthony. Anthony in Ojota, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Anthony from Okota. Good morning.
Good morning, Anthony. Please go ahead.
Yeah, please. I like what Mr. Abbas said. Abbas said the right people are not allowed to perform the duty or the responsibility which the country actually needed. That is why we are seeing all this. Yes, he is right. Because when you don't employ the right people at the right position, you will experience all these things. For example, when you want to employ people, you start bringing in age discrimination. You start bringing in certificate, whereby when you are talking about first class, people will go and buy that first class in order for them to secure a place in the government. At the end of the day, they might not be able to perform that duty they're supposed to perform. So why will you say people are not working? Because you are not employing the right person. There are people that have the will to do the job, but they are not given the opportunity to do it.
So you're going to blame all of this on the ruling class. Is the ruling class that caused this problem?
Yes, they are. Because if you don't have somebody else,
how about the rest of us? Somebody made the example that if I take Barrister Oshomo now and make him a minister, the kind of congratulations he's going to be getting because it's now our turn, that's not the ruling class.
Yes, that is on individual basis. Like Barrister Shomon that I know too well. Yeah, he's a lawyer. People will congratulate him. But he should also know the reason why he was employed to do a particular job. Okay. He will not go and bring an incompetent person to come and work with him just because he wants to satisfy somebody.
Hopefully.
He can't do that.
But there are pressures. Thank you very much for calling in, Anthony. Okay. I appreciate you and I understand the point that you've made. Thank you very much.
Just two things. I was talking about the issue of competent men and women.
That's right.
That you sniff for them. What the good two elements of a good leader: inspiration and human capital hunting for capable people. Put them in right position and allow them to run the system.
Were doing. Look, when the president took so long to bring his cabinet out the first time around, it was said.
No,
this was what they were working on.
It is not about. It's not that kind of one I'm talking about. Because at the end of the day, it is the same people, the same people that came on board. I'm talking of going outside.
You have a way of how do I put it now? Raising the issues cynically. I must say.
Let me just round up my.
Thank you very much. He put comment.
Yes,
I didn't. He's the person who put comment.
I'm not. See, you are in a difficult situation as a leader. If you do not politicize, you go look for people that are passionate to help you. Look, NCC, Nigerian Copyright Commission today. Mm-hmm. When you don't protect people's intellectual property, a man writes a book only for him to go to the street and discover that book has been pirated. Even in Nigeria today, your musicians and artists and Nollywood actors produce demo and go to Alaba to go and negotiate. Say, look,
pirate it for me.
Just tell me how much you want to pay me for this my job, and you reproduce the thing and just go with your money like that. In America, piracy and tax evasion. Because when people do not benefit from their intellectual wherewithal and their resourcefulness, you do not give room for creative thinking.
Yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. It's
part of corruption.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and good morning to all the other people in the studio.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that your outfit today.
Okay, you're too kind. Thank you.
You are feeding Nigerians.
Indeed.
With your outfit. Okay, now let us go to the issue. This corruption issue, we have a saying in my place that when you know the cause of a sickness, you are almost halfway of getting over that sickness.
Okay.
We start the superstructure for corruption started with Murtala Mohammed and Obasanjo when they destroyed the civil service. As at that time, before they came in, the civil service, even a level 7 officer can checkmate a permanent secretary.
That's true.
If it doesn't go within the financial instruction. The corruption in Nigeria will focus on the politicians. They are even just a minor part of that corruption. The civil service is where we should focus. When they arraign a governor doesn't sign check. The civil service have financial regulation. When a governor directs you, even in the military, you say order is order. There are illegal orders.
Yeah, that's true.
When they arraign a governor, that person in the civil service should go along with him. They should make them accountable. When certain things doesn't follow the normal procedure, you have a right to say no. To say no. If we can address that part, we are getting, as now, we are not even fighting corruption because when the politician takes 1 million, the civil service take 100.
Yes. So, thank you very much for calling in, Femi. I appreciate what you're saying.
You will need the judiciary you will need an effective judiciary to be able to achieve that. Let me say so. Let me break it down.
And that's not an easy thing.
That's not an easy thing. You know why? I agree with him. I had listened to Chief Philip Asiodu, elaborated on this, that the civil service started compromising when, as a civil servant, you're on your way to work, you hear your name on the radio that you've been fired. Mm-hmm. And so many of them were living in Ikoyi without apartments, and some died. And so with that, some of them started, and then
thinking for themselves.
Started thinking for themselves. I need to gather my pension and retirement before I retire. And so Now, you still have that culture of if you can't do it, then you are fired. And the man has nothing to fall back on. If he goes to court to contest that his summary dismissal, the court, we need a court that should be able to sit on it in 1 week to say, look, you have no powers to dismiss him for doing what the rule says.
But we don't have that kind of structure.
And then once he gets back to work, immediately, the PAMSEC or the commissioner will know that you can no longer take such decision. They can avoid you, but you will know that you will have to do what needs to be done. But now you have, everybody is a sycophant. You see a situation where a minister is appointed, because of the structure, a minister is appointed and people are singing mommy oyoyo. You know, and so, and then you want an independent civil service. So what I'm trying to say is that they work hand in hand. We need to look at the judiciary and then find an effective way of dispensing justice. Because when we say the windmill of justice grants slowly but surely, but we also forget that justice delayed is justice denied.
Garba in Kano, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay, sir. I called to contribute on the program. And what I have to say this morning is that I don't believe. Good morning, sir.
We can hear you. Please continue.
Okay, sir. I just called to contribute on this program. Good morning. What I'm saying here is that I don't think that this government really understands what it takes to fight corruption in the 21st century.
How do you mean?
This is below the bed mark.
What I mean is that I don't believe this government.
Continue. Stop listening to yourself.
So what is happening here is this: the body language of this government is not really serious about fighting corruption, because it's always talking about political corruption, leaving the civil servant out of the equation, and it takes two to tango. There is no way a politician will steal without an active connivance with the civil servant. But most of the times you see it, Nigerians only celebrate when a political office holder, maybe an ex-governor or a senator, is being prosecuted by the EFCC. But the issue is that what of the collaborators that are in the ministries, in the MDAs and the parliament and what have you, they are being totally left out.
That's why the governor will
that
go
is
free
one.
Easily.
Two, they look at the issue of political corruption as well, the one they thought they were fighting. For instance, sorry for me to deviate a bit, look at what transpired during the Kano rerun election. A scenario whereby a particular commissioner of police could conduct an election for an entire state, and then for the rerun election, you could bring DIGs and AIGs just for 207 polling units in a state. You understand? This kind of issues brings up moral issues. People begin to think that the only way you could make it in this country is just to do things by hook or by crook. Just win an election or just get the money, do whatever you want. The most important thing is that once you have the money, you can always have your way. Remember the statement by the ruling party, APC chairman, Adams Oshimole, that once whatever you do, whatever atrocities you committed, once you decamp and you come back to the ruling party, then your sins are forgiven. Now look at it. These are people that should be role models. These are people that should be parents. These are people that we should use them as a yardstick. But this kind of a statement, this is a chairman of the ruling party. So when you look at it now, is this a kind of discouraging corruption on its own, or is now encouraging corruption?
Okay, thank you very much, Garuba. I appreciate your call, Garuba. Really appreciate your call. That last statement, I don't know. I might have missed it, but that's what Garuba is saying, that the chairman of the ruling party had said, when you come back, all your sins are forgiven. I don't know. I didn't hear that myself.
I heard him.
I heard him say so.
So
you become a saint.
He called somebody who decamped. I forgot his name now, and he said, "You know the meaning of that name? It means that you have been washed clean. You have been, and so that is what happens to you once you come into." APC.
He's probably ruining those words now because there's all sorts of things that people say in an electioneering cycle.
Yeah, that's why, like Garba said, you are
because
a role model.
I'm sure there's no way he wants to stand by those words.
No, he can't.
No.
You are a role model. You are an opinion molder. And there are so many people, both in and out of Nigeria, that are listening to you. And your words should exude confidence, in the system. But a situation where you do one thing and then you say the opposite, people are going to lose hope. People that want to do business with your country would consistently point to such, instances. And that's why we can't, like I said, I would continually repeat this thing. If you look at the structure, the president can't be everywhere. The government can't be everywhere. They are represented by people, institutions, civil service, public service. And so, if you give structures to an organization, yes, we talk about Dora Akunyili, you talk about Nuhu Ribadu, you talk about Magu, but these are people you have empowered to work. How well also have you empowered these other institutions?
One moment, please.
To ensure that they deliver the same
on
way.
The same level of capability. Mazi Okoroafo Inarochukwu, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Barrister Libros and Barrister Abbas. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mazi.
I love your MC work yesterday. It was very, very interesting. Thank you.
You're too kind, Mazi. Thank you.
You see, the issue of stealing in Nigeria, we call it corruption or political corruption or economic corruption. All of this.
Even nepotism. They say nepotism.
Part. But personally, I call it stealing. We cannot stop it because in this country today, we worship money. Even Reverend Father Boniface in concord that statement, he said in Nigeria today in his sermon at St. He said people worship money. Because of this worship of money, that is issue what we are Nigerian. Now you ask yourself, all these 6 items that are customs bonded houses, at least the Barrister Liberals and Abbas know what I mean by that bonded warehouse. When did they normally sell all those things? How did they advertise those things? That one is another question mark for those people there to answer. Now, Oga leaves the office. Oga goes with a car worth of 20 million, he will pay 300,000. Directors leave office, a car worth with 15 million, he will go with, he just paid 200,000. Now you ask me, is that one not, is the federal government or state government still looking at it? The best option for us in this country is one, in any organization, DG, when you are going, all the directors that are under you must go with you, clear and clear, whether you like it or not. They retire them, collect their benefits and go. Create a new system. Even in the ministry, commissioner goes, PAMSEC, all of them go. Pay them their pension, everything, let them go. Clear that route. Then, you come back to our educational sectors. Now you ask yourself, why is it that in our educational sectors, some courses are approved, some are not approved? It's because the money have been budgeted this year and the Senate members, they just, what happened to them, only God in heaven knows. And the students are being graduated, they are leaving university with the courses that are not accredited, and they graduate them. School fee, all these things are the corruption that are happening in our educational system, not to talk about the secondary school level. Now, are the authorities concerned? Are they not aware of it? Now, how do we solve all these problems? Because a situation whereby we find ourselves in all these issues with everyday corruption, we are preaching the state, but we are not bringing the solution that will solve all these problems. Because I look at the situation in Nigeria that we only chase the symptoms, we are not chasing the causes. The area we need to get the causes at the grassroots and uproot it, the better for us. But if we continue chasing the symptoms of corruption, whether political corruption or economic corruption, we cannot solve it. Like what Barrister Liberal said, that to stop corruption in Nigeria is very, very dicey. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okoroafo. And we've almost run out of time, so I'm just going to use the last couple of minutes or so to sort of end with the notion that this particular challenge is not impossible. This is not the way Nigeria is condemned to be for time immemorial, as our people say locally. We can do this.
Yes, I agree. I agree totally. Look at the new economic team that the president has constituted. Everybody across board admitted one thing.
Yeah.
That these men
are good. This is a team.
An admission.
Everybody says this is a team.
These are not APC people, and they are not close to Buhari. But everybody agrees that this team is an excellent team. That's what the president needs in every sector.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
And then also quickly,
yes, very, very
you find out that for you to fight this, humongous fight, you need to break down units, the fight into units. Otherwise, if you sit down atop one place and think that you can fight everywhere, it's become very difficult. You need to reduce it into units. So the smaller we are, empower those units. The smaller we are, if the 3 of us are here, the moment you commit a crime, it's easy for us to immediately activate the instrumentality of the law and checkmate it. And there should be immediate result. Until we do that, it will be difficult.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, Ahmed Abbas and Libros Oshoma. So, as we were saying, the war against corruption, so far, how far? And maybe our conversation this morning and contributions from home helped you to sort of have your own evaluation as indeed whether it is going so far so good or so far so good, as you know and understand my meaning. Thank you very much for being with us. Join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.